Hey everybody, welcome to the Senators Post-mortem version of the Senators Roundtable. I'm Jacob Billington, joined by Dayton Reimer, as always. How you doing, Dayton?
Oh, not too bad. It's Friday when we're recording this here, so Friday's always a good day. It could be better that we'd be watching some more Senators, but I think this was what we all kind of expected, right? This was how it was going to end. We wanted it to end differently, but this is what it is, right?
Well, you look at last offseason, and I think that's where this story has to begin. There were rumors, Andy Strickland fueling them, a couple other people fueling them. There were some rumors that Brady Tkachuk is going to want out. And we were like, okay, so what next? Like, he hasn't said anything. The organization backed him and all that stuff. But that's where this season's story begins. And I think we were all in agreement that this was starting to get into playoffs or bust territory. 7 years without the playoffs would have been tough to go 8 with this core. But DJ Smith is gone. Pierre Dorian's gone. It's Steve Staios' first offseason with the team in his hands. Same with Michael Landlauer. No, not the same. It wasn't Michael Landlauer's first summer, I don't think.
I don't think so. I think he was around last summer, but he was hired. What is the timeline now?
I don't know. That's way at the back of my mind. But they finally get full reins to fix this team. Pierre Dorion did a lot of great things. His third son, Tyler Clevin, turned out to be fantastic during the playoffs. His draft picks of like Tim Stützle, Ridley Gregg, Jake Sanderson, Brady Tkachuk, like all these guys are really paying off. Okay. But it was time to fix the team. And so with the acquisition of Nick Jensen and David Perron and Nick Cousins, Michael Amadio, Linus Ullmark, and most importantly, I think on top of all of that is Travis Green. So that's where the Senator season began. In retrospect, I think he went 5 for 5 or 6 for 6 on those moves. I think they were all fantastic. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely it's a much better team than this was. I think he's made the right moves. It's really tough to criticize, I think, any move that Staios and Landlauer have made. I don't know if we want to separate those two yet. I think it's been kind of a team effort. Landlauer's brought in the right people, and the right people have made the right moves. I think it's a real team effort, is what it seems. Like, it doesn't feel like it is just one guy at the helm. It feels like this is a team moving forward. And I kind of like that. It's a little different than what we see of these really big personality GMs. Off the top of my mind is like a Ken Holland. And has he made the Oilers better? I think there is quite a bit of debate there. I think some moves were good, some moves were not. I don't know. But as for the Senators, I think everything that's been done has moved this team forward. It's been a really good change, and some of the trades, for example, the Chychrun for Jensen, I think on paper that's a loss. Like, just you look at the two guys, Chychrun is a massive point producing defenseman, Jensen is not. Washington got the better player, but Ottawa became the better team with Jensen. And that's what it always was about, was making a better team. And that was so much on, I think, all of their minds when all of these moves were made. And it clearly showed as, 2 games of this playoff series. The Senators were clearly the better team, and then for 2 of the others, they were right there with one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference. I think that is a massive step forward.
Yep. So I want to backtrack to what you said with Nick Jensen. So this episode's kind of going to be all over the place. Are you concerned about the second pair right-hand defenseman slot moving into next season? Are you concerned about that being Nick Jensen's spot or not?
I'm not concerned with it. I do think there could be some more depth. I don't know if what they have right now is enough. I think it's good enough, but will that get you into, several playoff series? I don't know. Jensen was kind of hit and miss sometimes in the playoff series. I'm not. Yeah, I mean, he
struggled a lot. Like he hasn't been healthy in a little while, and I think back to the beginning of the season, there was probably a 4-month stretch that he was the best defenseman on the team because Sanderson was in a slump and Chabot wasn't thriving, but he was doing fine. Yeah. Zub was Zub. You know what you're getting from him. But Nick Jensen was the best defenseman on this team for probably 3-4 months. And for the last, I want to say, month and a half, 6 weeks, he's been in and out of the lineup. He's been in and out of practice. Not 100%. There's no way that he's 100% right now. So I wonder how much impact that had because, I don't know, we saw the highest of the highs and the lowest of the lows this season with Nick Jensen. I think it would be nice to have him as the third pair defenseman. That would be a luxury. I'm okay with seeing him on the second pair moving forward.
Yeah, and I think I'm a perfect example. I keep forgetting that he was injured because he's like, oh, he's playing all the time. He must be better. But no, like half your team in the playoffs is probably injured. And it always breaks down that way, right? Everyone shares all of their horrific injuries they've been playing with for the entire playoffs.
Did you see the list of the Tampa Bay Lightning?
Yeah, exactly, right?
Like, that was ridiculous.
Yeah, what was it? That wasn't it Kucherov who had like a broken foot or something like that? Or
Kucherov was his left hand.
Left hand.
I don't know. There was like 30 people on that list on a 20-man roster.
They all just drag themselves over the finish line, and sometimes it works, right?
Yeah. What do you think of Patrice Bergeron? He played through a punctured lung. He played in the Stanley Cup final with a punctured lung in, I think it was 2011. Like, these guys will do anything. Erik Karlsson 2017 is the perfect example.
Yeah, so I would not be surprised if Jensen was struggling through an injury, and maybe it was a tougher injury than he was letting on, and his play suffered. Because we did see some really great stuff from him. So I 100% agree with you. I think he's a fine second pairing defenseman. Would it be nice to have him on the third and have someone better than him? Yeah, that would be a fantastic second pairing. But I think we have.
I would also love to see Matt and Paolo stay in the lineup, though.
Yes.
Like, I mean, if you're going for an upgrade, like you get, I don't know, Devon Taves in the offseason, I'm okay with bumping Jensen down and Matt and Paolo out of the lineup. Like, that's not going to happen, but you do what you do to upgrade your roster. You do what you do to upgrade the roster. But I would love to see a way for Matt and Paolo to still fit in.
Yeah. No, he earned his spot. He was fantastic. I'm very happy with what he's been able to do.
Yeah. So moving into the season, like that's all before the season even really started. Like in the middle of September, preseason starting, if you told me the Ottawa Senators would finish with 45 wins, 97 points, and lost in 6 games to the Toronto Maple Leafs, who came first in the Atlantic, great. It's a good season. Sucks that it had to be the Maple Leafs. Like, if this was the Hurricanes, there's no issues at all. Like, not a single issue. I think the Hurricanes had a worse season. I don't even think they hit 100 points this year. And yeah, like that's you're fine with that. You're fine with losing in 6 to the Hurricanes in the first round. It's only because it was the Maple Leafs that it stings a little bit more. But that's fine. Like, frustrating. The Senators very easily could have won the series. There was a couple overtime games in there. They could have just as easily won those games. Mm-hmm. They didn't. That's okay. Learning curve. I think more than anybody, Drake Batherson took more from the series than anybody else. But throughout the regular season, there was just so much development. You see Brady Tkachuk got a taste of competition at the Four Nations, and here we are in the playoffs, and he led the team with 4 goals in 6 games. Fantastic. The defense, Jake Sanderson's emergence, Thomas Chabot, the chemistry we saw with that top 4, Clevin and Matt and Palo looked amazing come playoff time. Everybody's just settling into their own. Ullmark had some ups and downs, but his ups were a whole lot higher than his downs were low. This team is ready now to actually take the step. This was just a little taste of the playoffs, just a little French kiss on top of a good season. Get a little taste of what you want. Now, are they a lock for the playoffs next year, do you think?
Yes.
You think they're a lock? Okay.
Yeah.
The only reason I say yes is because I don't think Tampa Bay is a lock. I think the Senators are like that close to being a lock for the playoffs next year. I can see Boston getting back into competition for it. I don't know how. They finished like 4th last in the league this year, and I'm still not ready to count them out for next year. That's just how it works with Boston.
Yeah.
So I don't I expect them to make the playoffs. I guess they only finished 1 point behind the Panthers this year, didn't they? So
yes.
Yeah, so don't hate to see that. But like, what are your biggest takeaways from the whole season?
Growth.
That's a big question, but
I think I'd sum it up in growth, right? We've seen everyone sort of grow together. I would have liked to see higher point totals. I would have liked to see some real dominance, but I think everything they did was just a step forward. And I think any sort of progress should still be, congratulated as progress. You're moving forward, even if it's little, and they took a step that they needed to, and they got into the playoffs. That was the goal. Who cares how you did in the playoffs? The goal was to play at least 4 games and get that experience. Finally, you have your big stars. Brady Tkachuk, he needed to be in the playoffs. He needed to see what that was like. And he thrived, at least once he got his feet going. I think everyone kind of struggled in that first game. Maybe you can count the first 2 games. But no, it was really good. And thinking of the whole season, there was a lot of, challenges that you had to go through. There was injuries. Their starting goaltender goes down for a month, and you throw in a rookie, Levi Marilainen. Oh, he's great too. We're helping him out, right? We're not throwing a guy to the wolves. That's kind of happened in the past. I think it's a good step forward, and I think they're going to keep making steps forward based on what this core is and what this group is and how they sort of persevered through this season together.
So given the roster that the Senators currently have, assuming that there's still another 30 regular season games to play before the offseason, what do you want to see more of from this group? So not looking at who's leaving in the offseason, what you should bring in, just this group of 23 players that is on the active roster. What do you want to see more out of those guys?
I would love to see them take another step forward offensively. I think there were times where they could have put the puck in the net more. I think my biggest concerns from at least previous seasons were defense, and that has improved, especially with having some of those guys in there consistently. I want to see more goals. I think that is kind of the next step to becoming a stronger, scarier team.
Yeah, I think they're capable of it. I think Stützle is capable of another 20 to 25 points. Brady is capable of another 30 to 40 points than he got this year. Drake Batherson, kind of on pace for what I expect, 60 points, 65 points. Could have done a bit more, though. Dylan Cousins certainly has more in the tank. He had a rocky season. These guys all have a bit more in the tank than they gave this. Not that they gave 100% this season, and it showed offensively than they ended up with. So moving into the offseason, what do you need to see? So I'm going to pull up the list of free agents right now. But I mean, like the biggest one is Claude Giroux. Is he coming back?
I hope so. He's a great guy to have in that room, and I think he is somebody who would want to finish out his career here. It's a hometown team. Give him a little. See if he would take a little bit of a discount because he is aging. He's not quite as effective, but he's still effective, right? We saw how good he was in the playoffs. I think you need a guy like that on a team that is young like the Senators.
So what kind of contract would you look to hand out to him? So he's on $6.5 million right now. Cap is going up. He is getting less effective. So what kind of contract do you think that the Senators should try and ink with him?
If they could get around a $5 million, I think that would be nice. It's I think paying him for his name. He is a big name player still, but it's not. And it's like trying to get a bit of a discount, but it's not insulting. I don't think. I think he is definitely worth $5 million. He's probably still worth $6 million, honestly. But
I think they come in lower than that. I think so? It's going to be like a 2-year, $3.5 million.
I mean, that would be fantastic.
Yeah.
I was thinking like a 1-year 5.
Yeah. I mean, if it's $5 million, $5.5 million, I'm totally fine to see that. As long as it's not a raise at this point, I think it's fine bringing him back. Even at the 6.5, like just get Claude Giroux back in the lineup. Would I like to see him in a bottom 6 role? For sure. But you also need to fill out his position higher in the lineup. But no, he's become such a glue guy on this team. Everybody loves Giroux. He can be Mr. Serious or Mr. Fun, Mr. Old Fun guy. Kind of like Paul. He can be old and cranky sometimes, but then he can also be really fun sometimes.
We can say that because he's not here today.
Like Claude Giroux just kind of keeps them together. Really mentored Brady. I think him and Brady have a really good relationship. I don't know. I haven't seen a whole bunch of stuff like off the ice between the two of them, so I wonder if it's like a really good, healthy, professional relationship. I'm sure they like each other off the ice and everything, but sure. Now that I think about that, I wonder how much they like talk and spend time outside of the rink. But what about
anyone?
Yeah. What about Fabian Zetterland? So I mentioned last week that he's kind of getting the brainstorm treatment, but it doesn't matter as much because he's not a homegrown guy. Do you take him back? He's an RFA, so hopefully a little bit of a discount there, but he's only making $1.4 million. I think he could get close to 5, close to 4. What do you think?
I don't want to pay him close to Giroux.
Well, when you put it that way, yeah.
Like that's what we're talking about, right? Is he worth the same amount as what Giroux is bringing? And the answer is, without a doubt, no. He's younger, but you're not replacing him with Giroux. He doesn't have the well-rounded game. He doesn't have the experience. He's a great player. But if we're looking at like 3.5, okay.
Yeah, and I should say
I don't know if I hire that.
I should say he was on track to make like 4 or 5 before he came to Ottawa. I think his value did sink once he got here. He only had 4 points in 18 games with Ottawa, opposed to like 40 and 65 that he had with San Jose. So he might hold a grudge against that and say, I don't want to stay here. Wouldn't blame him, honestly. No. He got the 4th line treatment. He didn't do well. Would I love to see him come back? Absolutely. I love his physicality. I like his offensive capabilities. Obviously, he didn't show it here, but he's more than capable of it. Yeah, I think he fits on this team really, really, really well. And if you can get him at like $3 million on like a prove-it deal, that'd be great. Another RFA, Ridley Gregg. No, they signed Ridley Gregg, didn't they? Yeah, 4 years, $3.5 million. Yeah.
Fantastic value.
Yeah. Don't need to talk about that. More than happy to see him locked up at just under $4 million.
Yeah, I will make one comment. And I wrote an article just before the game the other night that we needed to see, more from Ridley Gregg. We needed to see a better, more disciplined player. And then watching the game, he was excellent. He had such a great game last game. He was getting offensive chances. He was playing smart. He is a player who pushes that line, and I thought for most of the series he was crossing over and hurting his team last night. Yeah, it was last night, right? Blanket on my timeline already. He was pushing that line, but also remaining effective and remaining out of the penalty box. And I think that's where you need him to be. If he's sitting for 2 minutes all the time, he's not doing what he is capable of. And so I was really happy with what I saw from Greg last night. And unfortunately, they couldn't get the win. But no, having him around is excellent. He's a fantastic third line guy.
Yeah. So the rest of the RFA forwards, Nick Cousins, Matthew Highmore, and Adam Gaudette, they all played important roles on this team. Maybe they weren't all the most effective at times, but they all did play very important roles. Do you take any of them back? Or do you change up kind of what that fourth line looks like?
I thought Cousins maybe could have been better. I thought Highmore could have been better. And I think maybe you can get guys of similar value who bring more than those guys. Gaudette, I really like. He's a fast, offensively minded player who does chip in defensively. He looked really good in the playoffs. If he could come in on an affordable deal, I would love to have that guy back.
Yeah, I think so. I think Nick Cousins was great until the injury. In the playoffs, he wasn't very effective. But like in the month and a half leading up to his knee injury from Jacob Quillen, he was on fire for that little stretch. So wouldn't mind seeing him back. Matthew Highmore, I mean, sure. Always loved me some Nova Scotians. But he's like the definition of a replacement level player. There's 300 of them in the AHL right now. It's just a matter of who gets the chance. So,
yeah, I think that could go to Stephen Halliday or Angus Crookshank or like one of those kind of guys. That's
Tyler Boucher.
Sure. He hasn't shown enough to get an NHL spot yet. He needs to show more.
Enough.
Yeah, 100% agree. I think those things are hand in hand.
Yeah.
I'm not putting a guy who's played, 30 AHL games in the NHL right now, especially someone who struggled with injuries like that.
Yeah.
If he can show that he can dominate the AHL, fantastic. Like, bring him up. He deserves a spot. Until then, I'm happy to wait.
I don't think he can dominate the AHL. Like, I don't think I've used the word yet, but I'm going to use the word. He's a bust. It was always, not a good pick. But there's a chance he becomes, a decent fourth liner, third liner. Kind of like Mark Kastelik is kind of what I thought his ceiling was for a while, which is disappointing based on 10th overall. I don't know if he's going to reach that. I don't know if he's going to play an NHL game.
He was always projected to be a very good third liner. Yeah. That was his ceiling when he was picked.
Like a Yanni Gourde kind of player or Andre Palat.
Maybe. I think those guys were out of his reach, though.
Yeah.
We're talking a guy who hits a lot of guys.
Yeah.
And I've tried to pay very close attention to him, and I lose sight of him because he's just always injured. He is, and it's unfortunate. He could have been maybe somebody. He did show flashes he was with the 67s, right?
Yeah. He was with Boston in the NCAA. And then he was injured and didn't get played because he wasn't playing well. And then went to the 67s, was injured and suspended and didn't play very well. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think I would use a bust for Tyler Boucher as well. And I'm the guy who wants to give busts a better name.
Yes.
I might be the career cut short kind of guy. right?
The career cut short kind of guy.
I think Jared Cowan could have been fantastic, and his career was unfortunately cut short through a lot of different things. And hopefully this summer I can finish up that piece. He's a real interesting player who deserved better. And I don't know if I wouldn't say Tyler Boucher deserves worse, but he.
Well, I wonder what this team looks like if Logan Brown was a healthy person. Not a healthy person. Not injured very often. That came out totally wrong.
That's good.
Was able to stay healthy and in the lineup. Like, what does that look like? This team with Logan Brown on it. Where are we at now? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that's tough to say.
It's always fun to think about, like, the what ifs of, especially prospects.
Yeah. What if Ottawa drafted Tuukka Rask?
Yeah.
They talked with him. Tuukka thought he was going to Ottawa.
Yeah. That's rough.
Yeah. That was in my.
Well, then we wouldn't have Craig Anderson. All right. So moving to the defense, I have to ask because he's on the list. Do you bring Travis Hamonic back?
No.
Really? No, I'm just kidding. You look so concerned.
Yeah.
So who do you bring in instead of Travis Hamonic to be that veteran guy that you don't want to see play?
Without being mean or harsh, literally anybody else.
Yeah, I think analytically was one of the worst defensemen in the league this year.
Yeah.
And has a no move clause.
Yeah.
Like
everyone you played him with played poorly.
Yeah.
Like go through every single game he played, and that was the worst defensive pairing.
Yeah. Well, I think Matt and Paolo does what he does. Like, he does what Travis Hamonic does, but well.
Yes.
Like, what does Travis Hamonic bring to the Senators lineup? What positive does he bring?
He's a good locker room guy.
When he's on the ice, there is one positive. He's getting pucks to the net.
Okay. Yeah.
In the direction of the net.
Shots, but...
In the direction of the net. Most of the time, they're 7 feet wide. But Nicholas Matenpalo, I have been impressed. He fires like just piss missiles at the goalie all the time. Like, it might not be the most effective thing, might be straight to the chest, but he gets pucks on net, and he just, as soon as he has an opening, puck right to the net. And that's what I love about Matenpalo. Obviously, he's got the good defensive style, blocking shots like you mentioned with him, and he does that as well. But it's just the shots from Matenpalo. I am going to miss seeing the Hamonic's lip sweater on the ice, though. He got a good mustache.
Yeah. Yeah. I never wish ill of any player, right? Every guy in the NHL deserves to be there.
Yeah.
It's just unfortunate that Hamonic was put into a situation where he was going to fail. He was acquired for a pick that he shouldn't have been acquired for. Yeah. He was signed to a deal that he never should have signed. He should have signed it. 100%.
He should have signed. Never should have been offered.
It never should have been offered. He got put into a role that he never would have succeeded in, even in the best of circumstances. He was set up to fail in Ottawa, and that sucks. He is the.
There was a stretch that I did like him. I think it was my headphone fell out. I can't hear you. There was a stretch. I think it was. I have to pull up his stats. There was a stretch that he played really good hockey. Not really good, but like considering his role. So it would have been the 2022-23 season. Most of that season, I actually kind of liked what I saw. But then the 23-24 season regressed back to, why did we get this guy? And then this season, obviously, he's only 34 years old.
Yeah.
Like most players still have gas in the tank at that age.
Well, there was some
four ones that were. What was that?
Didn't he lose a family member?
I'm not sure.
I thought he went through like a personal trauma, and I could be completely wrong here. There's been a few guys in the last few years who who went through some like really, really tough moments. And I wonder if that really hurt him. You know, some guys do have that ability to bounce back from something like that, but some guys don't. And there is no shame in that.
So I just looked it up. I actually didn't know this, but when he was 10 years old, his father died of a heart attack. And he has been involved in initiatives like the D Partner program, where he connects with children who have lost a parent at a young age. This program and his work to combat the stigma around grief led him to receiving the NHL Foundation Player Award in 2017. That's fantastic. And like, I hate to be ripping on the guy. Like everything that is seen is he's a fantastic guy. Just not a fit with the Senators defense group.
Yeah. Like I said before, he was kind of set up to fail with Ottawa.
Yeah. And like you also said, like fantastic locker room guy. Everybody loved him. Everybody stood up to defend him when he needed it and all this stuff. So, yeah.
So my bad. He didn't have a recent loss, but there was, a past trauma. And I didn't know about all of the initiatives that he's involved in. So that's really cool.
Yeah. I don't know how I didn't know that.
I remember hearing something about it. And so I just misattributed it to it. Because there was a guy with the Medicine Hat Tigers who lost his father like this season.
Yeah.
During a game.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah, I think, I remember Friedman and Bukowskis talking about it on 32 Thoughts.
Yeah. Just a crazy, crazy situation. I don't know how you get through that.
Not a clue.
No.
I don't know how to transition from this, but here we go.
Sorry about that.
No, that's fine. That's fine. It's important stuff to talk about. Dennis Gilbert, do you bring him back?
Man, I don't know. Sure.
Sure. It's either going to be Dennis Gilbert or Donovan Sabrango as the seventh defenseman.
Yeah. I like Sabrango better. I think he's got more upside. I have no complaints with Gilbert. I think he is a fine guy.
We also saw him play like 3 games.
Exactly.
He was those 3 games were such a nothing burger.
Yeah. So if he wants to take, a cheap deal and have like probably a 2-way contract, cool. I think he'd be a great guy to bring up and down as needed. I also think the Senators have other guys that they can do that with. You mentioned Sabrango or Maxence Gwinnett. He's been well deserving of more shots. Or maybe that's for Yakimchuk. He could be looking at a spot.
That's very true. What about Clevin and Matt and Palo? I think obviously you bring them both back. What do you pay them? They're both RFAs.
That's a great question.
How much will you pay them together? How much do you want to pay them as your third pair?
I don't have a number in mind, but I think you got to make it work. Yeah. Like you cannot afford to lose those guys.
Yep.
I think both of them showed that they were easily some of the better bottom pairing defensemen in the Eastern Conference in the playoffs. They were fantastic. Like they did everything right. I don't think I ever saw them making a mistake. Sure, they didn't play a lot of minutes, but that's what a third pairing guy is, and that they did their role perfectly. So whatever it takes to bring them back, pay it. Because
I think if you can get them both under 5, like together under $5 million, you're good.
Yeah.
Like whether it's 2.5 each, I don't think I'd give Matt and Palo 2.5 yet. But like whether it's like $2 million each or 3 for Clevin or 1.5 and 3.5, whatever it is. I think if you can get them for under $5 million, you're good. You're more than happy with that.
I think I'd be happy with 2 apiece.
Yeah, that's exactly what give them both a 2x2.
Yeah,
problem solved. Everybody's happy.
That would look good, and that would keep things pretty affordable.
Well, I mean, for Matt and Paolo, like you're making what, 400,000 playing in Finland a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, and then you made 70,000 in the AHL last year, and then now you get to kind of cash in, make some real money.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right, goaltenders. I think that's a conversation for another day. I think that's a whole episode.
Sure.
Does Forsberg come back or not? And if not, who do you replace him with? That's going to be a big conversation to have.
Yeah, probably. I have a quick answer, but we can save it for.
Give me your quick answer.
I think I've said it before, but let Forsberg walk. You got him for free, whatever. Put in Maryline, and he's earned a spot.
Yeah, I think I agree. But at the same time, I think when we had this conversation a few weeks ago, I said, like, if you can get Freddie Anderson at $3.5 million, and then you're paying under $12 million for all Mark Anderson, I'm okay with that too. Yeah, so that's the off-season plan. So my last question for you is going to be, you get one move in the off-season. What is it?
One move?
Yeah. And we don't have the salary cap numbers. Actually, I can give them to you. Well, no, because then we'd have to go through, well, he gets this much and he gets this much.
Yeah.
We'll do kind of an armchair GM episode maybe next week.
Yeah. I'll think about it for that time. I've been looking at potential draft picks that they could snag. And I'll give you one name to maybe look out for: Braden Coots. That guy plays Senators hockey.
Like to see that.
Oh man, he drives the net. Like, you'll never find a harder worker. He's a little on the smaller side. I think
somebody said that about Tyler Boucher one time.
Maybe. I don't know. I watched Coots play a few times this season, and he is fantastic. Yeah. So.
All right. So we'll do some armchair GMing next week. Paul won't be with us then either. We'll go through and we'll build our ideal roster for next offseason. And we'll talk about that and see what we agree and disagree on. Hopefully there's a little bit of discrepancy so that we have something to talk about. So thanks everybody for tuning into this episode, and we'll see you next week.